Man vs. Machine is a PvE game mode that many adore in the Team Fortress 2 community. Most of you guys are already familiar with it, but it involves up to 6 players fending off against hordes of robots to stop them from deploying a bomb at their base. A large part of the gameplay loop is trying to create a balanced team composition for each wave, as well as picking out optimal upgrades to counter the bots that appear. But what if we took out half of that equation? What if the administrator had an emergency mission, but only 2 spies were able to go? Well, these are the kinds of situations I'm prepared for. So, I got my buddy Package here, who is an MvM professional, and we're both gonna play Spy to see how possible running 2 of the worst class in the game would fare in official MvM missions. Yes, that's right to anyone unaware, Spy is commonly viewed as the worst class in the game in every format, including MvM. So, me and Package will be fighting hundreds of robots at once, with the worst class in the game, who is also a support class. How could this go wrong? Oh! Package! There's... Package!
Hi, scared.
Package!
Must
be dead. Oh! Oh my god! Package! Package!
Oh!
There's so many! We wanted to start small and see just how many difficulties we could go up and reasonably complete. So the plan was to start with Doge Drill, one of the easiest missions in the game, then work our way up and find the hardest missions that we can feasibly do. I'll go into more detail later, but here are the missions that we settled on doing. We picked one from every difficulty except Expert, and we tried aiming for the missions that we knew had the least spy counters. Even this would be a big stretch though, because you know, these missions were made for 6 people. So before anybody complains that I picked easy missions, why don't you guys try beating one of Package, do you have the Diamondback?
Yes.
Do you have it right now?
No.
The starting 2 waves are pretty simple, lots of swarms. And while Spy does have an answer to swarms in the form of Sapper, it's not the most consistent thing thanks to the long recharge. It's also very expensive. Spy does have a silly gimmick that makes up for this though. Allow me to introduce sitting at the hatch and waiting for robots to deploy the bomb. Yeah, so basically what happens when a robot deploys the bomb is it stares directly in the direction of the hatch, allowing you to easily backstab bomb carriers as they're deploying. This is a very important strategy for us to pick up, because when too many swarms spawn at once, it's kinda our only choice to sit at hatch and deny them one at a time with a kunai heal over and over. And that's the strategy we settled on to start. Wait, I threw?
Oh.
Yeah, so something I should have mentioned is that while sound in theory, there is a lot where this could go wrong. Mostly in the consistency aspect. Sometimes we just end up getting body blocked or take some knockback and can't reach the bomb in time. And since we're playing with razor thin margins for error, just one of these mistakes means a wave reset. And since the waves take so long, it's not fun when this happens. I think we ended up having like 3 or 4 attempts foiled by these. Luckily, this didn't happen too much though, and could usually be avoided if we played it safe with 2 spies at the hatch. So I'm not gonna complain much about it. I mean, we're playing MvM with just 2 spies, so I don't really know how picky I can realistically be. The first problem wave was upon us though. The tank wave. Simple looking wave on its own, the main problem was obviously the tank. We experimented a bit with refill ammo canteens and crit canteens, but we always had to make sure we leveled up our gun. What we eventually settled on though is high fire speed, high clip size, and max crit cans. This served us pretty well, and we beat it first try after this change. Luckily, the only other tank wave in this mission was the last wave, so we could just focus on dealing with robots. After this though, by some miracle, going all the way to the last wave, we didn't lose a single wave. Which is honestly quite surprising, because how are we supposed to beat this wave? 150 scouts and support snipers? I mentioned it a bit, but swarms can be pretty annoying to deal with if they come too fast or don't clump up. Luckily, the scouts clumped up, and we got a few big saps to deal with them. And the other waves were pretty simple. Just deal with a couple of giants and we could mostly ignore the supports. This final wave would combine a little bit of everything though, making it a difficult split of our attention. So how'd it go? Well, there are 2 giants that come out with stream spawn scout bomb bots and a tank towards the end. I was designated the bomb watcher, which meant I dealt with the scouts going to the bomb hatch, while Package was going to take care of the giants and then start in the tank. Before you guys start to wonder how was Package supposed to deal with these giants on his own, this might be a good time to mention that Spy is a very prominent technique in MvM called circle strafing, that a lot of times lets him instantly destroy giants or at the very least deal massive damage. This makes it much easier for Spy to solo these giant robots. So Package got to do this while I sat at hatch. After finally making it through the last of the scout hordes though, I wasn't done yet. Turning around to see a half-health tank making its way towards the hatch, I hadn't realized how close it was going to get to the hatch before I needed to step in. I wasn't going to let it take our victory away from us though. I have something the tank doesn't have. A gun. Oh my god!
Dinners.
Oh my god! Down to the
Yummers.
last fucking second!
And first try.
And first try! We did it. We were able to beat an entire normal mission with just 2 spies. But, as I said, we weren't going to stop there. After we beat this mission in around an hour, we knew we could definitely take on some higher difficulties. And after some testing and experimenting on different maps, we landed on Manhattan for our intermediate and advanced picks. Some of you may be able to discern why, and if you can, hooray, you get a cyber dollar, yeah! But for everyone else, we did not want to plan waves with tanks. We tried it, we hated it. Even on Doe's drill, we cut it very close. That's not to say other tank missions aren't possible with 2 spies, but we sunk a lot of time into tank waves and grew very tired of it. Manhattan would have its own list of issues though, so how did things go? We started off with Big Apple Baricade, the intermediate mission, and looking at the wave bar, it doesn't seem too bad, right? Well, there is something on this map preventing it from being easy. Something to note on Manhattan is that there are gates that can be captured by bots, known as gate bots, which are indicated by the glowing yellow hats they wear. If they capture a gate, it doesn't necessarily mean game over though. It can even be helpful since it disables all the small bots for a short while, but capturing a gate means they get temporary crits, another bomb to cap with, and a shorter path to the hatch. So 2 spies dealing with non-stop stream spawns to cap gates was very difficult, but it was doable. After a few tries of getting capped and resetting with a little luck and getting used to spawning patterns, we ended up making it to the last robot who we could circle strafe to death very easily. Wave 2 is somewhat similar structure-wise, a bunch of small robots followed by giants at the end. The earlier swarms and gate bots were easier this time around since there were slower classes that clumped up a bit more. It started to get a little scary with the next subwave though. Huntsman snipers plus always fire pyros. Not only were Huntsmans extremely dangerous with their burst damage, but with pyros to light their arrows and us on fire, we could get tracked down very easily, even while invisible. Because of this, we got pushed back to the gates at this subwave pretty often. After about 2 runs though, we ended up making it pretty stably to the giant pyro section at the end. It was at the last gate, so slightly scary, but after a small scare at hatch, Package of Fries was able to hold the support bots off on his own, and I was left to deal with the giant pyros. A lot of this challenge was about trusting each other. I had to trust Package to hold off the swarms for as long as possible, and he had to trust me to do my job of taking out the giants as quickly as possible. Thankfully, it ended up working out here and we succeeded in the wave. The next wave was a good bit easier to be honest. The reason being that while there were lots of swarms, there weren't a lot of gate bots, meaning we could largely just ignore the swarms until they clumped up around the bomb and sapped them. We lost the first gate, but since this wave was slower and more focused on the giants towards the end, it wasn't a big problem, and we ended up winning first try. Beating the intermediate seems like it's going to be pretty free to be honest. Going into the next wave, we were feeling pretty confident. The start of the wave was pretty easy with not many swarms and a couple of solo giants. After that though, we got rolled. Following the very slow start, there was a huge spike in swarms, including pyro gate bots, and we got pretty overwhelmed. Afterwards we got up, dusted ourselves off, and learned our lesson for next time. This will be a reoccurring theme because there is no way we're going to be prepared for everything just from looking at the wave bar. We were much better prepared the second time around. This time, we just had to play safer and single out the gate bots. It's significantly easier to defend from the front than from gate A. So after we made sure gate A stayed closed, the rest of the wave was pretty easy. Just a few giants to circle strafe. Anyways, on to the next. Wave 5 was the start of what the average wave would be like going forwards. Long waves, split up by lots of subwaves, and poorly paced. First time around, we got rolled. Again. Look, I kinda doubt we're gonna be winning most of these first try at this point, I'm not gonna lie, but I don't think that's anything to worry about now. We've already gone too deep. Similar thing as last time. Slow start with lots of giants. But once those stream spawn conch gate bots came, we got overwhelmed. Even after losing a gate though, we stuck it out pretty long and even made it to the last giant heavy bot. Unfortunately though, I was unable to hold hatch and we had to reset. Second run though, we locked in, took care of the gate bots, and the last part was much easier to deal with. Oh, how did we deal with them this time around? Well, we both focused on the gate bots together and played safe so that neither of us died. At this point, one death can be the difference maker. Yeah, the last part was pretty easy though. We had much more time to ignore the support bots since they had to walk much farther, and the giant heavies were fairly easy to circle strafe. With that, we were off to the final wave. The main issue with this wave was the massive amount of swarms and stream spawns. We weren't able to rotate back to deal with the giant gate bots in time, so we ended up getting pushed back to the hatch for the scariest part. The giant rapid fire crit soldier being pocketed by medics. We tried our best to put up a fight, but we just couldn't deal with the giant plus the support bots that close. So another reset. On the reset though, we split responsibilities better. Package would take care of the mass swarms going to hatch, and I'd take care of the giant gate bot so that we wouldn't get pushed back as far. This strategy was working pretty well, but it just takes one slip up to screw us up. And this screw up came in the form of a crit scout. We lost the first gate, and I thought it was going to be curtains for this run. We managed to clean up the giants and remaining swarms, but now it was time for the giant soldier. I was doing everything in my power to hold off the bomb and the swarms to get a reset, but they'd always touch it and reset the timer at the last second. As they were pushing closer and closer to the hatch though, Package of Flies managed to sneak in and take out the giant soldier and honestly caught me off guard a bit. I was still a bit on edge and worried that I was going to be the reason for another loss, but we did it. We beat an intermediate mission with just 2 spies, which meant it was time for the advanced mission, Metro Malice. After a brief celebration, we wanted a taste of Metro Malice's first wave. We probably weren't going to beat it or anything yet, but information is always good to have for when we come back to take it on. I think now would be a good time to mention that we were using Potato.tf test servers for this, so we can control what wave we play. If we stop early one day, for example, we can just come back the next day to our save point. We ended up giving wave 1 a first shot though, and it was probably the hardest wave we've lost so far. Stream spawned gate scouts to start, then giant soldier gate bots with lots of swarm, so it's very difficult to defend the gates in this wave. We ended up losing a little over halfway through and got off for some rest to try again tomorrow. Coming back for the next day, I was feeling pretty confident we'd be able to get through wave 1. Package shared the sentiment and said that it was definitely doable after last night. So we got in and...
Penetration.
Oh god, that's an uncanny, it's a Mr. Incredible uncanny amount of damage.
Ow.
This is not epic.
I didn't dead ring fast enough. It has 300, the one at the front.
It's fine. We immediately got pushed back to the last gate. And just when I was certain it was going to be a wave reset, I prepared myself for the bomb to deploy. And it never came. Package explained to me that since the bomb was reset after the giant soldiers capped, as long as we didn't kill the support bots, nothing new would spawn, and so nothing new could bring a bomb. This gave us a billion million real-life years to plan for the rest of the wave, get any upgrades, and take out the remaining giant soldiers. Brilliant and intentional game design. Anyways, after we took out the giants, there was the hardest robot in the wave. Crit soldier with a ton of pocket medics.
How original.
Luckily though, we were able to take out the medics pretty quickly with some aggro drawing, and after that we just had to take turns circle strafing. Luckily, not too many supports spawned, so we didn't have to worry about being backcapped. It ended up being a little close, but we're still doing pretty well pacing wise. Up until this point, things have gone pretty smoothly on Manhattan. Every wave has taken an average of 1 to 2 attempts, and even the advanced mission was seeming doable so far. How could wave 2 be any different from wave 1? That wave bar doesn't seem too bad, right?
Dude! Why did he still shoot at me? I'm dead.
I dead. I couldn't do that yet.
What?
Oh my god. This
Free
game is
backstab
so
farm.
ass. This
Here,
game
I have a
is
funny
so
idea.
ass. This game is so ass. Does this count as me doing damage? Oh. 5.5 goddamn hours across 3 days, a 4-hour session being our longest. This fucking wave has done more damage to my mental than my Clash Royale doubles partner ditching me to play with randoms. We've played this damn wave so much that we've made essentially a step-by-step solution to beating it. To put it simply though, there are tons of stream spawn gate bots, tons of swarm bomb bots, and the giants that are on this wave are among the hardest for Spy to deal with. So, here's the play-by-play. First up, we stuffed Package into a corner to attract all the spy bots like a moth to a flame, allowing us to kill them all at once. Then, once that was completed, Package would keep bomb clear so that we don't get capped, and I'd make sure demo bots didn't make it to the gate. I did this by body blocking the demos all in one place while they spawned so that I could sap them all at once. I found it best to delay stabbing the final demo for a bit so that my sapper had more time to recharge for the next group though. After I dealt with the first wave of gate bots, I'd go on to help Package with the remaining bomb bots and supports. After taking out the bomb bots and supports, we'd both work together on the giant scouts. Ideally after the bomb's been reset so that we don't need to worry about one slipping through. After this, we'd both try to quickly dispose of the giant fist gate bots by drawing aggro, before shifting our attention to the Pyro Swarm. The pyro swarms were pretty easy to deal with, and a lot of times we'd use them as our wave intermission, because if the bomb was reset and one of them was still alive, we could just take as long as we wanted to get upgrades. Up next though was probably the most important part of the wave, the soldier gatebots. I cannot even begin to explain how much trouble these guys caused us. They are almost impossible to deny from capping gate, despite being the only things that spawn. And why is that? Because stream spawn, that's why! The last group of these guys was stream spawn, making it very difficult to sap them before they could make it to the gate. And if they got to the gate, then it makes the last portion of this wave a lot harder. It became a back and forth of deciding which part of the wave would be harder to deal with, because even attempting to kill all the stream spawns could leave us in a worse situation for the final sub-wave if we messed up. And the final plan we decided to go with is this. First, we body block the clump spawn so that we can sap them very easily. Then, we try to get a couple of soldier bots from the stream spawn, but if anything goes wrong here, we just give up gate so that we can be safer for the last portion. Onto the final part of the wave though, the one that would rip the win from us again and again. We settled on this plan. I would first sap to stall the bomb scout swarms so that we had more time to focus the giant pyros. Next, I would go stand on high ground and spam crit shots that did just enough damage for package to one cycle the first couple pyros with backstabs. This would give us the flexibility we needed to take care of the swarms and have time for the last giant pyros. And even with all this planned out, it still turned out getting really tight. We'd already suffered a few really close losses coming down to the last giant pyro at hatch. But this time around, something changed. Package and I both performed our job flawlessly, until it came down to either winning or restarting the wave. It's okay, I think. If we win, it's okay.
Alright, the last one's a 2K.
I'm a little scared.
It's looking at me right now. I can't get in it. Alright, shoot it.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I don't care for $3. I don't fucking care. I do not care. Beating that wave was genuinely such a good feeling. For anyone who doesn't have enough stress in your life, I implore you to try this for yourself. After we finished celebrating though, I promptly remembered that this was only wave 2 out of 6. Package let me know that wave 2 is probably going to be one of the harder waves because of the combination of weaknesses and lack of money. So I hoped we wouldn't have to spend 5 hours on a single wave again. God, we were gonna be here a while. Wave 3 was kind of the opposite of Wave 2. The start was really hard, but the end was pretty easy. Unfortunately, it was not easy for us if they capped Gate B, so we couldn't really let that happen. The issue on this wave was that there were 2 really strong and scary things we had to deal with fast at different spots. Giant Scout Bomb Runners and 32 Gate Heavies. We either needed insane luck or insane mechanical skill. We'd had combinations of that with our current strategy of kill as many as possible, but we'd screw up more often than not. We needed something consistent. A strategy that worked even just 50% of the time would do just fine. Luckily, the MvM professional stepped in and suggested a plan after enough hours of close calls and banging our heads into a wall. Package realized that robots always tended to start looking backwards as they walked forwards at this specific point in the map. His plan with this being to deal with the giant scouts close to front so that we could stay close and play off each other better. He'd even be able to get a sap off on the group of heavies for me. This didn't work perfectly at first, but we could both tell that it was a good foundation, and worked off of it to build new plans. So after much more trying and many more scouts that we hate, here's how final Wave 3 attempt went down. Don't worry, it's not as long as Wave 2. Step 1. I buy refill ammo canteens. We discovered that this affects Sapper as well, so I would just use this to stall heavy robots as long as possible so that Package could kill the bomb scouts easily. After stalling them, I ended up having to let them cap A, but I was able to take out the giant scout bot that made a lot of problems. After this, it was pretty straightforward. We denied the heavies from capping B, then deal with the bomb bots right after. From this point on, we just kinda had to jump back and forth between bomb and gate as much as we could because of how many bomb and gate bots there were. We got very used to working off each other though. From here onward, it was gonna be completely up to our execution, and it was our best run yet. It started getting really tight towards the end with the comments closing in on me. I was just holding it as long as I could, hoping that Package could kill the giant in time. And finally, after what felt like an eternity, Package was able to deal the final blow to the jumping scout giant, who, might I add, was also a massive pain in the ass because they'd one-shot us nearly every time. God, I could write a video about every single wave at this point. Anyways, here's the wave bar for Wave 4. Pretty scary. So how much trouble did we actually end up having? Well, the start seemed pretty simple because it was just one giant robot. SPIES 1 strength, and we couldn't do it. I mean, to give Spy the benefit of the doubt, this robot was meant for 6 people to shoot at. That's even ignoring the supports. But the issue with the giant soldier wasn't that we couldn't kill it. No, it was a gate bot. So it was a ticking time bomb that we had to deal with immediately unless we wanted the rest of the wave to be made extremely hard. That was on top of the actual ticking time bomb that was the giant bomb scouts that we had to split our attention for. So essentially, we had to focus on 2 different bots, leaving one of us to attempt to deal with each major problem. In most of our early runs, we'd make it past this first part, but since both gates were capped, we'd just get rolled for the last part. Eventually, after some trials and tribulation, we decided that we could let it cap A gate, then finish it off before B gate pretty consistently. After the boss issue, the next portion was probably the easiest we've had so far. Small groups of soldier, pyro, and medic bots with only 1 scout support at a time. Our plan was to sap and kill the groups one at a time, leaving only the medics alive to stall. This not only gave us more time to plan and get upgrades, but it also resulted in this. Yes, that is all of them attaching to 1 support scout bot and doing nothing because there is no bomb. After finishing this portion was the crit Force of Nature subwave, which, while it seems intimidating, they all spawn at once, so it's free sapper food. Following this though, the difficulty ramps up a bit. Here we have one last stand of gate bots to hold off. Giant medics, giant heavies, and some banner soldiers. These were also very doable, but similar to the giant soldier at the start, they were gate bots, which made dealing with them very tight, especially since gate A was already capped. We were able to handle them most times, but they would occasionally be an issue. And the hardest part is what came after. Even on our good runs where we defended gate B, it would be insanely hard to deal with the rest of the giant crit soldiers, even though they had less health. There were 2 bombs that made it to hatch almost immediately with the scout streams, and it didn't take long for a giant soldier to get a direct sightline from us from across the map and crit us while we dealt with the scouts. It all felt increasingly impossible, as whenever we made it to the last part, we just got crit spammed unless we killed the soldiers immediately, which left the bomb open. Was doing 6 waves of this even possible in advanced? Just as our doubt continued to mount though, a miracle occurred.
I got him.
Package was able to kill the boss robot before it made it to gate A. Surprised and excited by this, I finished taking care of the scout bomb bots, making extra sure to not be knocked back by their force of nature and lose this gift. This was the perfect opportunity. As long as we didn't lose gate to the next bunches of gate bots, the rest of the mission should be easier. We were a little taken aback as we'd never dealt with these subwaves before gate A before, and had to immediately adapt our strategies to a completely new part of the map to make use of our miracle. You can kinda tell that we nearly throw at some parts. Like here where we both waste our sapper on an NG bot and almost don't get it back in time, or here where Package died and I had to 1 cycle a giant heavy without Dead Ringer backup. We had some really tight moments where we both could have very easily screwed up. And let me remind you that this was the first time we managed to successfully defend Gate A from the giant soldier out of 2 hours. We had 1 shot at this, and the nerves continued to mount. Luckily though, the nerves were balanced out by the significant difficulty decrease of not having to defend from a closer gate with multiple bombs. Coming down to the end, Package was a hatch holder and I was on the giant soldiers. Defending from the front made this portion much easier. But even despite that, my nerves were causing me to make more mistakes than I really should have. Knowing this was our 1 chance, getting closer to the end, listening to the administrator's bomb voice lines as the bots got closer to the hatch. Package could only hold them off for so long before they got the bomb through, and I had to be quick, which got to my head even more. Coming down to the last giant, I ended up cutting it a little close with my flub stabs. But I was able to defeat the final giant, and we ended up securing the win on the miracle run. Hold on for 2 more seconds, 2 more seconds, 2 more seconds. Oh my god.
Nice.
How close is that for you? So, imagine the hard and annoying parts from every other wave and put them all into 1 cohesive and playable one. Got it? Cool. This wave is essentially every part we've mentioned being difficult into 1, back to back to back. The start of the wave is annoying because there's the giant soldier with lots of health carrying bomb, and while he's pretty easy on his own, the longer we take, the farther away we are from the front lines for the next subwave. The next subwave is another part I'm sure you all remember lovingly. Gate capping soldier swarms with giant fist of steel swarms. So awesome. 1 mix-up and it's over. This is yet another example of nearly impossible to defend Gate A without insane luck. Right after that, we have big swarms of crit heavies which will perfectly track you even after you dead ring, making them an insta-kill if you make a mistake or miss 1 in a sap. And finally, we have some giant demos and medics that are accompanied by mass swarms of heavies, snipers, demos, NGs, and scouts. Doesn't seem like something we haven't tackled before, right? Well, the issue here is how long the giant demos take to spawn, all while the infinite swarm bots push the bomb forward, making this an endurance mission on if we can defend against the swarm bots before the giants come out to be dealt with. This mission was a test of all the skills we've used again and again in each wave, the ultimate preparation for the final wave. So how did we do it? Well, pretty early on it was determined that we couldn't sacrifice the first gate. It would be much too important, especially for late wave with the endurance-oriented approach. The first giant wasn't much of a problem for this since it didn't care about capping, but the immense gate bot swarms afterwards were. To put it into perspective, out of the 4-ish hours of footage, we successfully defended gate A from the first subwave about 3 times. And one of those doesn't really count because it's the one package fucked up last second.
My aim is god awful.
It's okay. But point being, you can see how infrequent our runs are. We have to rely on miracles. Honestly though, if we can get through the first part without losing gate A, the rest of it is pretty simple. The heavies aren't gate bots, so we can take our time with them, and the support swarms are very annoying, but clump up just enough to have slight gaps in spawns, giving us some breaks from the endless onslaught. And the demos aren't very difficult on their own, so once we had the advantageous gate control, the rest was pretty much a breeze.
You're gonna get crit.
I'm fine. Kill this guy, kill this guy, kill this guy, kill this guy. Oh!
Yeah.
Package! Package! We did it!
Oh.
Package, that was so scary! Oh. After over 20 hours of man versus machine, multiple hours spent on every wave, there lies one final challenge ahead of us. Package said that wave 5 would probably be harder than wave 6, so we went in pretty hopeful that this was doable. This wave has so many swarms, and these swarms are the strongest they've been throughout the entire mission. Not only are there more crit Force of Nature scouts, there's infinite crit bowmen, infinite crit demo knights, and even some spy support, which just makes it even more annoying. After the first couple of subwaves, these guys come non-stop, making it effectively impossible to deal with the giants. Of which, the giant soldiers like to bunch up close too, so you can't really go for big circle strafe stabs on them with all the bots around. Every single time we've tried, we've had this problem and got pushed back to B gate, making the last subwave extremely easy to lose to all the swarm and giant bots. Especially with 3 bombs. I mean, just look at this, they're everywhere and non-stop. What do we even do here? After a little bit of trial and tribulation though, we came up with this skeleton of an idea. After the giant soldiers cap B, we take our time getting them one by one and ignoring the swarms. We can do this because the bomb is deleted after a gate is capped, and if we don't kill any of the support bots, more won't be able to spawn with the bomb, letting us control the bomb at least a tiny bit more by limiting it to the giants. It's not perfect, and it's still tight, but it's something to work with. So we tried this a few times and had mixed results. We got to the point where it felt like it was technically possible, but we were wondering if we had the capacity to complete it. There was just so much swarm spam that we couldn't really take out the giants cleanly while holding them from B gate. We questioned if we should try holding an earlier gate maybe? But surely that'd be harder than what we already had. After brainstorming for a bit, I had come up with an interesting idea based on how I noticed these robots were reacting to me. Basically, generally robots will gradually make their way forward to the hatcher bomb, right? Well, there is an exception to this. Usually robots make their way forward, not only cause bomb, but cause they're after the players in front of them. In fact, only a few robots route directly to the bomb and follow the bomb carrier by default. This is called the bomb squad and they ignore basically everything else. The rest of the robots will default to wherever the closest player with the highest aggro is, which in this case is nearly always the closest spy. Essentially, I could theoretically lure all the robots away from package while the bomb was gone. And even when it came back, most would still be focusing on me, giving package a little more flexibility on the giants. All he had to do was stay disguised while I rounded them all up. This would still be kinda risky, but any more potential flexibility is welcome. Going into it, I tried getting them into this pit by spawn to delay them, because they were gonna wander back to package soon anyway, so obstacles would just buy more time. While the first time didn't go perfect, he was still able to get through 2 of the giants without the distraction of swarms. Once I had to pop the dead ringer though, they just ran back to package immediately to interfere. After a tiny bit more brainstorming, I decided I would try to lure them to the spawn door and see if they'd stay aggroed on me through spawn. So here I am, showing off my knife tricks to the robots through the glass. After package took out the soldier medic combo though, they should start heading back little by little, throwing us back into the intensity.
Wait, they're not even going for bomb. What the fuck?
Yeah, for some reason that I do not understand yet, none of the robots wanted to leave. They just kept staring at me swing my knife around while package killed the giants, dropping more and more bombs on the ground. The game was basically ours. Package could clean up the giants for free, and we just had to clean up the last bit of conch soldiers mixed in with the crowd. Even as Package continued stabbing giants, these robots just refused to turn around. As I heard the giants slowly come out and get destroyed, I got more and more excited every time. I was a mix of ecstatic and absolutely dumbfounded with why this was working. All until finally I saw that beautiful silhouette of Spy on the horizon to clean up the last few bots. And it was with this last stab that I was freed of this hell.
I'll hear you. Do you want to do the honor?
God, what the fuck?
Dude.
Dumbest shit of all time.
GG's.
Mayhap.
So there you have it. We could do it. We were able to beat a Valve mission of every difficulty except Expert with nothing but 2 spies on missions that were made for 6 people. If you are interested in seeing an uncut version of me and Package beating every wave completely, I will be uploading that as a separate video on this channel, so I'll be leaving the link in the description for that as well. Was it worth it? Maybe. I'll find out after I see how well this video does. But I'm very proud that me and Package of Lies managed to pull this off. Massive shout out to him, by the way. This video was a grind, and sucked the life out of me. But it was at least a little fun. Usually when people do low man challenges, they'll run optimal classes like Soldier and Medic. But the fact that we were able to finish this with just 2 spies? Yeah, I'll brag about that for a while. I want this to be a lesson to you all to respect Spy a little more. He can be pretty good in the right hands, and when in the really right hands, he can beat a fourth of 2 cities. So, my last request, don't kick your Spy players because of what Weezy TF2 told you. Spy is honestly pretty good in MvM, and is on par with the other classes when played well. Instead, kick your Scout players. God, I fucking hate that class. Always